I want you to take a second and we'll just do a quick mental tally. Just run through your phone in your head right now. How many social media accounts do you currently have active?
Oh, man, that is probably a lot for most people.
Right. I mean, there is Instagram, obviously, probably TikTok. You have got LinkedIn for professional networking, maybe a legacy Facebook account for keeping up with family, X for the daily news cycle. Just, count them up.
Yeah?
Got a number. Good. Keep that number in your head because here is a projection that should absolutely make you pause.
Huh.
By the end of 2026, 580 million social media accounts are expected to be hacked.
And we really need to emphasize the phrasing there. That is not 580 million people. It is 580 million individual accounts.
That is a massive distinction.
It really is. The distinction is vital because it means the math is just incredibly unforgiving. Statistically speaking, if you are listening to this right now, there is a very real, very high probability that one of your accounts has already been compromised.
Wow.
Yeah. And the truly unsettling part, you likely have absolutely no idea that it has happened.
You were just scrolling along, totally unaware that someone else might hold the session tokens to your digital life.
Exactly.
So today our mission for this deep dive is to look at a fascinating and frankly terrifying breakdown of exactly how hackers weaponize our social media accounts against us.
And how to defend against it.
Right. We have synthesized a massive stack of sources for this one, recent threat intelligence reports, a newly declassified Europol briefing on synthetic data, and a highly granular case study on corporate social engineering.
It is a lot of heavy material.
It is. We are looking at the evolved tactics, the automated mechanisms, the psychology, and most importantly, the actual steps you can take today to build a defense. Because the threat landscape has changed drastically from the old days of, Nigerian prince emails.
Oh, totally. It is a completely different game now.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the front door. Before we get into the complex AI-driven cyber attacks, we have to look at how hackers usually get inside in the first place.
Right, so the initial point of compromise is rarely some sophisticated zero-day exploit breaking through platform encryption. It is almost exclusively reliant on this phenomenon called credential stuffing.
Which, the well-informed listener is likely familiar with the concept of password reuse, right?
Sure, but the sheer scale and automation of modern credential stuffing is what really catches people off guard. Hackers purchase massive, aggregated databases of usernames and passwords from legacy data breaches on the dark web, like, say, an old Netflix breach. We are talking billions of records.
Billions?
Yes, but they aren't manually typing these in. They feed these databases into automated software tools to test them across all platforms.
So it is basically algorithmic arbitrage. It is less like a burglar picking a lock and more like a high-frequency trading algorithm.
That is a great way to put it.
They are executing millions of microtransactions a second, just waiting for a fraction of a percent of a hit where an old password happens to match a current account.
That is the perfect way to frame it. And to bypass rate limiting, the security feature where a platform locks you out after 3 bad guesses, they route these automated scripts through residential proxy networks.
Wait, what does that mean in plain English?
It means your account isn't being hammered by a single IP address in a known hacker hotspot. The requests are being routed through infected smart TVs and IoT refrigerators all over the world.
So to the platform, it just looks like you, the user, traveling and logging in from a local coffee shop.
Exactly.
That is wild. It's basically like using the exact same key for your house, your car, and your gym locker. You're just praying the guy who finds it at the gym doesn't know where you live.
What's fascinating here is that the attack is completely asymmetrical. Hackers don't need to be clever. They just rely on the sheer mathematical probability of our bad habits.
Because everyone reuses passwords.
Exactly. The chilling little statistic from the threat reports is that 94% of people reuse passwords. 94%.
Which means that automated tool is going to get a hit eventually. It is a pure exercise in mathematical probability, not hacking sophistication.
Right. And when that probability pays off, it triggers a cascading vulnerability. The data indicates that 73% of victims see hacks spread from one account to another.
Like a domino effect.
Exactly. Think about the architecture of your digital identity. They breach your Instagram using a credential stuffed from a 5-year-old fitness app breach. From your Instagram, they locate a shared authentication protocol tied to your Meta account, which is tied to your primary email address.
Oh, and if they compromise the primary email, it is game over.
Total game over. That inbox is the central routing hub for every password reset link you will ever request.
The fallout from this cascading failure is staggering. Just looking at the numbers from 2025 alone, account takeover fraud caused $17 billion in global losses.
Yeah, the financial impact is massive.
But here is the mechanism that really makes my stomach drop. It takes an average of 17 days for a victim to even realize they've been hacked.
And that 17-day window is the critical exploitation period. They aren't altering your password immediately, which would alert you. Instead, they operate concurrently alongside you, using stolen session cookies.
So they are just hanging out in the background.
Yeah, the telemetry data shows they use those 17 days to actively impersonate the victim to 71% of their contacts. They map out who you message most frequently, mimic your syntax, and insert themselves into ongoing conversations.
So credential stuffing is a volume game. But platforms are getting smarter with bot detection, and users are slowly adopting password managers. When the brute force math stops working, the hackers pivot.
Right, they adapt.
They stop attacking the authentication algorithm and they start attacking the user's psychology. Let's look at what happens when passwords aren't the weak link.
This is where we enter the era of hyper-personalized social engineering. The classic phishing emails, the ones riddled with typos that addressed you as "Dear Customer," those were easily filtered by both email providers and our own common sense.
Nobody really falls for those anymore.
Exactly. But the integration of large language models, or LLMs, into the hacker toolkit has fundamentally altered the landscape.
Right.
Once basic entry fails, hackers bypass the tech entirely and target human trust.
Supercharged by AI. The threat intelligence reports note that AI-generated phishing messages are now achieving a 60% higher click rate because they are so highly personalized.
It makes total sense. A hacker can automate a script that scrapes your last 6 months of social media activity, feeds it into an LLM with a prompt like, "Write a casual direct message to this person referencing their recent vacation to Italy and their dog, Buster."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they say, "Include this malicious link masked as a photo gallery." The resulting message is indistinguishable from a legitimate friend reaching out.
The LLM provides the ultimate Trojan horse, which is context.
Context establishes trust. But the sheer scale of this synthetic context is what we need to focus on. There are currently an estimated 140 million fake profiles operating on Meta platforms alone.
Wait, 140 million?
140 million digital ghosts armed with automated, context-aware conversational engines.
Wait, if the Europol briefing is officially warning that 90% of online content could be synthetically generated by the end of this year, how is anyone supposed to trust a new connection online? Are we just supposed to assume everyone we meet is a bot?
It is a totally valid concern, and it forces a complete paradigm shift in human interaction. We evolved biologically to trust consistent communication and recognizable patterns.
Right. We look for familiar social cues.
Exactly. When an artificial intelligence can perfectly synthesize human nuance at scale, our default biological settings betray us. Trust itself is being hacked. It means critical thinking has to be elevated from a passive trait to an active daily defense mechanism.
And nothing exploits that biological trust quite like the phenomenon the cybersecurity world calls pig butchering. The name itself is gruesome, and the underlying mechanism is incredibly manipulative.
Pig butchering is the industrialization of the long con. A criminal syndicate establishes a fake persona on a social platform or a professional networking site.
And to address the visual aspect of trust, they aren't using stolen stock photos that you can easily flag with a reverse image search, right?
Not anymore. They utilize generative adversarial networks, or GANs, to render photorealistic human faces that literally do not exist anywhere else on the internet. The pixels were mathematically generated seconds before you saw them.
That is terrifying. They pair that untraceable face with an AI chat engine, and they literally spend weeks, sometimes months, just talking to you. They aren't asking for money up front.
Right. They're building a genuine emotional connection.
Yeah, they complain about their commute. They ask about your weekend. They remember your kids' names. They are, fattening up the pig, building total psychological reliance.
And then only after that bond is cemented, they subtly introduce a fabricated investment or crypto scheme.
And because the victim has spent months bonding with this entity, their threat detection radar is completely disabled.
Exactly. They transfer the funds to what looks like a legitimate trading dashboard, which is actually just a simulated interface controlled by the syndicate. The moment the liquidity is drained, the persona of the dashboard and the funds just vanish.
And the cost of this is staggering. By 2027, AI fraud losses are projected to hit $40 billion globally.
It is absolute devastation.
But tracking back to the mechanism of this, to run these incredibly convincing, highly personalized AI scams, hackers need detailed data about you. Where do they get it?
Well, that is the most frustrating reality of modern cybersecurity. We hand it to them for free.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We treat our social media like a fun digital scrapbook, but a hacker is reading it like a corporate espionage dossier. The sources detail the reconnaissance phase, specifically a methodology called OSINT, open source intelligence.
Yes, OSINT. It sounds highly classified, but it's really just the systematic automated scraping of publicly available information.
Like birthdays, cities, kids' names, pet names.
Exactly. This raises an important question. We spend billions of dollars globally protecting corporate servers, but the adversary is just running an automated scraper over an employee's public Instagram feed to answer security questions and guess passwords.
It's essentially a master key. What was your high school mascot? Well, the hacker's OSINT scraper just cataloged a throwback photo you posted wearing your old varsity jacket.
Right. And they leverage that dossier to execute highly targeted spear phishing. Carefully crafted messages that look perfectly legitimate by referencing your boss or a recent project.
Not just generic mass emails anymore.
Exactly. And the platform where this reconnaissance translates into the highest success rate is actually LinkedIn. It accounts for 18% of targeted social media compromises. Professional data is premium ammunition.
But let me push back on that. LinkedIn is literally a professional networking site. If I hide my job title, obscure my company, and remove my connections, I completely defeat the purpose of being on the platform.
It's a fundamental tension between utility and vulnerability. You don't have to delete your profile, but you should rethink the default settings on your digital life. Question the true utility of having a public birthday or your exact employer listed.
Because when they get those exact details, the results are wild. The sources outline this case study, the Zoom heist.
Oh, that one is incredible.
Yeah, hackers used LinkedIn data to identify a finance employee, created a real-time deepfake of the CFO on a Zoom call, and successfully stole funds, all built on public info.
And they used social engineering to mask the technological flaws. The deepfake CFO immediately complained about a terrible Wi-Fi connection at an airport lounge, which instantly provided a plausible excuse for any audio or visual lag. The employee transferred the funds.
Wow. So we've covered how they get in and how they gather your data. But what is the ultimate endgame for hacking an average person's account? It's not just about you. It's about turning you into a weapon against the people who trust you.
Exactly. When accounts are taken over, they are used to scam the audience.
Like the 2020 Twitter hack. You had 130 high-profile accounts. Obama, Gates, Apple, Musk, all hijacked for a Bitcoin scam, stealing millions in hours.
But the danger for normal users is that your account, no matter how small, is incredibly valuable because your friends trust you.
Right. So what does this all mean for the listener? If my account gets hacked, I'm not just a victim, I accidentally become an accomplice.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, yes. Your digital identity is an asset, and failing to secure it puts your entire community at risk. AI scams surged 1,200% in 2025, using hijacked accounts to spread malware, fake investments, and phishing links.
That drastically shifts the paradigm of responsibility. So let's transition to the practical tips. We have a rapid-fire rundown of the 4 crucial actionable takeaways to shrink your attack surface today. Tip number 1, use a password manager and make every password unique.
This is non-negotiable. A password manager breaks the algorithmic math of credential stuffing.
Tip number 2, enable two-factor authentication or 2FA on every single account immediately.
And we need to elevate beyond basic SMS text messages. Use an authenticator app or physical hardware security keys.
Got it. Tip number 3, audit your public profiles. Remove birthdays, exact locations, and anything that answers security questions.
Treat your personal metadata as a highly restricted currency. Starve the automated scrapers.
And finally, tip number 4, be deeply suspicious of out-of-nowhere contacts, especially regarding investments. Use reverse image searches for unknown profiles, even though JANs make that tricky.
Skepticism must be your primary operational mode. The core theme from the text is this. Your social media presence is your attack surface. The smaller it is, the safer you are.
It's all about shifting from a passive consumer to an active defender. Which leaves me with one final provocative thought based directly on that deepfake CFO anecdote and the Europol warning.
Okay, let's hear it.
If an AI can perfectly mimic a company's CFO on a live video call using just public social media posts, are we approaching a reality where you and your family members will need to establish a secret safe word just to verify you're actually speaking to each other on the phone?
Given the trajectory of synthetic media, implementing a family authentication protocol might be the most practical advice of all.
Something to seriously consider the next time you answer an unexpected video call. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, stay secure, and we'll see you next time.